You are absolutely right. Folks, we are moments away from the start of today's annular eclipse in Oregon. Now, I know I'm excited. This will be the first time I've ever witnessed one of these events, and I hope you are too.
It'll be my first annular eclipse as well. But Tahira, I was lucky enough to see the 2017 total solar eclipse, and that experience was amazing. So I think we're in for a treat today.
So this is going to be a totally new experience for you.
It will be, yeah.
And so, Gina, actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and see if we can pull up the telescope feed from our friends at Time and Date. Wow.
Look at that. San Diego.
Oh, San Diego. We've got a live view of San Diego, California right now. What a beautiful partial eclipse.
Yeah, I mean the sun, it's a crescent. Normally we refer to the moon as a crescent moon, but this time it's the sun.
And I mean, normally we see, you know, the sun in the sky, the moon in the sky. Occasionally they might be together, but to see them overlapping, it really reminds you that we're a part of this just entire system.
I know.
And so
interplaying together, right? And you can tell, I mean, from this view, you can really appreciate the fact that from our perspective, the moon and the sun seem to look like they're the same size, even though in reality they're not, right?
It's incredible. You know what? Right now, let's go ahead and check in with James at our Eclipse desk. James, what's the latest?
Yeah, hey Tahira. So we have officially kicked off annularity here in the United States. If we look at our Eclipse Explorer, you can see that the area of effect of that annular eclipse has now hit Eugene, Oregon. They should have a phenomenal view there. And just a reminder to all of our viewers who are in that region, the Pacific Northwest, be sure to use your eclipse glasses as you're looking at the sun and the moon above. You should have a beautiful sight at this moment. That's going to last for just a couple minutes, so really take advantage of that big moment. You just saw that view in San Diego. Even if you're outside of this area, you might still have a beautiful view of a partial eclipse. And if I zoom in onto our little area of annularity, you'll notice kind of a couple little bumps and things here, which you might initially think is because it's low resolution. Maybe it's a little bit, you know, low res here, but the inverse is actually true. We actually have an incredible amount of data feeding into our Eclipse Explorer to generate the images and the predictions that you're seeing on your screen. This tool takes into account two unique things. One is obviously the topography of Earth, so mountains, river valleys, all kinds of little divots and things as that shadow moves across the land. But also, and really interestingly, it takes into account the shape of the moon. When you think of the moon, you might just think it's perfectly circular, but there are so many little objects like mountains and craters and all kinds of things dotting the surface that are all being fed into this prediction that you're seeing here that will then show you exactly what the shadow is going to look like. You won't really be able to see this difference from the ground, but if you're up in space looking down at this, you'll actually be able to see that area kind of ripple almost as it's moving across the terrain. So definitely I encourage you to check out this tool. It's a really phenomenal one that's really just using so much data to feed into this. And again, even if you're outside of this area, I encourage you to use our tool to kind of predict what you're going to see. So if I scroll all the way over to the East Coast and I zoom all the way out here, you can just see just how large this area of partial eclipse is. This kind of outer circle that you see here is areas that might be having a partial eclipse. So if I click on, for example, Philadelphia, I know quite a few people watching there. It looks like it might be a little bit rainy, but if the sky clears up for you, you'll have a peak coverage for your partial eclipse at around 1:21 local time. So still plenty of time for you to get your glasses ready in order, get your pinhole projectors created. You had that instructions earlier in the broadcast, and really just take advantage of this incredible celestial moment. These don't really happen very often, so it's a really unique experience to be able to witness this live from here in Kerrville, Texas. Just a few moments, we'll actually be able to have that view from right here. I can hear the crowd already kind of buzzing. People have all their glasses ready to go, already kind of looking up and observing that partial eclipse. You just saw the coverage in San Diego. This is really sweeping across such a big area of the United States, and it's going to continue to move closer and closer and closer to us. You can see already since I've just started this conversation here, we've already moved away from Eugene, so they are no longer in annularity, and this is continuing to move into parts of Nevada. This will then continue to track further southeast to our friends out in Albuquerque at the Balloon Festival. They'll have a phenomenal view there, intermixed with the balloons and everything. It'll look awesome. And you're also seeing right now our live view of Kerrville, Texas. You can see we're already in pretty good coverage here with the partial eclipse. If I click on Kerrville on our interactive map, you can see that we're expecting our peak coverage of the annularity to begin at 11:50. And I'll remind you again, if you're using our interactive tool, these are all clickable too. So if you wanted to click onto those and to see exactly what time and exactly what it's going to look like, actually, this is a prediction of what it's going to look like in your neck of the woods. And so actually the path you're seeing this moon taking is the exact path it's going to look like the moon's taking in real life for you. So that little googly eye is showing that directionality. So for us, the moon has already entered in from kind of above the sun here. It's going to continue tracking down, eventually giving us that incredible ring of fire effect. I can't wait to see this live. This will be the first time for me ever seeing an annularity alive. I'm super excited. So the hit is coming up again in Albuquerque, New Mexico. In just a little bit, they'll get a phenomenal view there. Keep tracking it. But for now, back to you, Tahira.
Incredible, James. And I mean, I think earlier you said buzzing. Like, Gina, it feels like the town is coming alive.
It is.
It's starting to get a little colder here.
I know, I'm kind of chilly.
And so, I mean,
looking around, you can just see people are kind of lounging back with their safety eclipse glasses and just taking it all in and getting excited for this.
And not only will Kerrville see today's annular eclipse, they're also positioned to see the total solar eclipse next year.
Yeah.
Right? Like, how awesome is that? And so, folks, let's take a look at how the city has been preparing in the lead up to these special events.
Kerrville is the eclipse capital of the state of Texas. It is known as being the capital of the Texas Hill Country. It's the epitome of Texas. Ranches, deer, beautiful streams like the Guadalupe here.
Kerrville is very welcoming.
It's a wonderful community.
Tight-knit, small.
It has about 25,000 people.
Kerrville is blessed to be in that special square. Not only are we going to witness the annular eclipse in 2023, we're also going to witness the total solar eclipse in 2024.
We're talking about crossroads, you know. We get it twice.
Two eclipses is coming right here, right where I stand. It's statistically extraordinary.
We get two in less than 6 months.
Everybody's excited about it. City council, county commissioners, everybody's working diligently to be able to provide safe opportunity for the influx of people.
This will be the biggest event in the history of the city, and that's why the city is preparing. We're preparing to make the event enjoyable for everybody who wants to see this tremendous natural phenomena.
I think that Kerrville has done an awesome job of preparing, way in advance.
It's getting that message out to people to make sure that they're taken care of personally, but then there's the science part of it, letting them know what is an eclipse.
And I'm just having a great time going out and talking to civic organizations and clubs, and I can talk about eclipses. So this will be my 4th and 5th solar eclipses.
I've seen total eclipse in Nebraska. I drove 1,200 miles for a little over 2 minutes, and it was well worth it.
And just couldn't believe the experience of the eclipse. I mean, it literally gives me goosebumps every time I talk about it. It's a visceral, emotional experience that is just, you have to experience it to understand.
I thought I knew what it would be like, but I gasped at the sheer wonder.
It's going to be you're going to hear that intake of air and
It was the most beautiful natural thing I've ever seen. So to have an eclipse basically in my backyard is just, it's indescribable.
As you can see, the town is alive, preparing for these spectacular moments. Now, Gina, the sun not only impacts us here on Earth, right?
That's right, Tahira. So the sun impacts our entire solar system. And in fact, when we explore with NASA, that's something that we have to take into consideration.
So I'm glad you said exploring, because I actually just recently learned that the sun even impacts human exploration in the solar system, which I thought was really cool. So let's take a second and see how studying heliophysics is actually helping us prepare for sending humans to the moon and Mars under our Artemis program.
NASA has studied the sun and its influence throughout our solar system for decades. The Artemis program will provide a better understanding of solar activity through 2 new missions. Hermes is an instrument package that will monitor space weather from the moon and be placed on NASA's Gateway, an orbital outpost being built for lunar operations and eventually Mars exploration. The dual spacecraft Escapade mission will examine the effects of solar wind on the red planet's atmosphere. Heliophysicists at NASA are working to protect astronauts who will travel to the moon and to Mars by increasing our understanding of the space environment through which they must travel. With safety ever at the forefront, the agency is using spacecraft observations and simulations to better understand space weather. That's a look at your Artemis Moon Minute.
Folks, I've learned that it is almost time for Annularity to make its move into Albuquerque, New Mexico. We've got Joy standing by at our other desk, who is going to tell us about an upcoming NASA mission and show us live views from this solar eclipse. Joy, Michael, on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you right now?
I think I'm about a 20 right now. What about you, Michael?
Oh, I am so excited. You can see the light changing. It's getting a little bit chilly. I am so excited.
I cannot wait.
Yeah.
So now we're joined with NASA scientist Dr. Nikki Weil, who's going to tell us about a new sun mission. Firstly, Nikki, how are you feeling today?
It is so amazing to be here. I'm so excited to be able to be a part of this festival and witness the annular eclipse.
So, Nikki, what is the PUNCH mission and what does it stand for?
So PUNCH is a NASA small explorer. It stands for Polarimeter to Unify the Corona and Heliosphere. So the corona is the outermost atmosphere of the sun. It's the part of the sun that you get to see during a total solar eclipse when the moon totally blocks out the main body of the sun. And then the heliosphere is the bubble carved out by the sun as that corona turns into a solar wind and fills our solar system.
So I know that PUNCH has a big outreach effort as well, especially looking at humanity's interaction with the sun and observing the sun. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, humanity has been studying the sun and the moon and those different cycles for millennia. And one place where there's a lot of evidence of that studying of the sun is over in Chaco Canyon here in New Mexico. And actually our PUNCH outreach team, some of our PUNCH outreach team is over there in Chaco right now, where there's just so much evidence of ancient and modern sun watching. The ancient sun watching there evidence is on the rock of the sun, there's this petroglyph of what we think might be the 1097 total solar eclipse that actually went right over Chaco Canyon on a path similar to the annular eclipse today.
That's
and then,
amazing.
of course, the modern sun watching is what we're all doing here today, and of course our Native American partners on the PUNCH outreach effort that still honor some of their traditional sun watching efforts, and then of course our NASA missions like PUNCH and Parker Solar Probe.
That's amazing. And you mentioned PUNCH shows and studies the sun's atmosphere, the corona. Why do we need to study the sun's atmosphere?
The corona is amazing because it is hundreds of times hotter than the photosphere below it, the surface of the sun, the part that we should never look directly at. So that's amazing. That's like if you walked away from a fireplace and it got hundreds of times hotter. Now, we know it has to do with the magnetic fields rooted down in the sun, but we don't know exactly how that energy gets into the corona. So that's one of the things we're really interested in studying.
Right, so we're looking at a live shot on camera of this eclipse. We're getting really close to annularity. So what are you looking forward to as a scientist when you think about eclipses and especially with the new mission coming up?
PUNCH is going to be so amazing because it's going to take images of the corona and that plasma as it fills the solar system in regular white light, like we could see it with our eye if our eye were sensitive enough and if the moon always blocked out the main body of the sun. But it doesn't, and that's why we need NASA missions like PUNCH to do that for us.
Fantastic. I can't wait for the mission to launch.
Me neither. I'm super excited about it.
So we're like we're moments away, minutes away from the annular eclipse here. Nikki, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you enjoy the annular eclipse.
Yeah, thank you so much. This has been great.
And I hope you keep safe from the wind. The wind has kind of picked up right now. So yes, so the skies are clear, the wind has picked up, but we have a clear view of the annular eclipse. So remember, The annular eclipse is moments away from Albuquerque and the sun is never completely covered. So during the eclipse, you have to keep your eclipse glasses on the entire time. You can also use other indirect viewing methods too, like a pinhole projector if you don't have eclipse glasses. So Michael, do you have your glasses ready?
I have mine ready.
Great. So now let's go to a full screen view of the telescope here in Albuquerque.